Have y'all been enjoying yourselves? Are you getting what you need? And listen, we are just skimming the surface. We're just literally skimming the surface. Like I told someone while we were having lunch, this really is supposed to have been a 4-day event.
Wow.
But, you know, in terms of time and getting people to understand and grasp what this really is all about, it's about transforming your life. And literally, you can't do that all in one day. You just can't. But we're giving you the tools that you can work with to get started, and then we're going to keep the journey going.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, we couldn't do this without talking about relationship transformation. And my dear friend, Dr. Marquita, is here with us today. Let's give her a hand. She is the Back to Love specialist. I thought I had a thing here for you, but I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Okay. And we're thankful. I'm so thankful to know her. She is, I'm telling you, she is like the light in a dark room.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the gifts and talents that you bring. We met, I was invited to a round table for the conversation with Robin and her dad about women, and I was invited to that show. And immediately I was so impressed with what you had to say and what you brought to the discussion. And thank you so much. And I was so pleased that I got to know you. And I said, it would be great. So, as a matter of fact, quite a few of the people that are here have been on my television show. And I promised them, I said, this is just one building block. We're going to do something together, and little did I know that today was going to happen like it's happening, but it is here, and I'm so grateful for it. So we're at relationship transformation, and we all know that relationships are very, very important. And that's why I would strongly recommend, and that's why I asked you to sit with someone you don't know. We need to start to build new friendships and relationships with people who will support us in moving and changing our lives.
That's right.
Because if you keep on doing what you've always done, you're always going to get what you always got. Right? I don't know who said that, but I'll take it.
I love it.
So I'm so excited that you're here. Why don't you just say a little bit, matter of fact, if you want to say a little bit about the Back to Love movement, that would be great, and so they can really understand why you're here. You and your boyfriend.
I said, leave it to the love doctor to bring the men in the room. Yes. So thank you, man. Sweetie, for coming to support me. And this is Ahmed from Magnum Life Media. He is the visual director for the Dr. Marquita brand, so I'm mic'd up, and where I go, he captures it because I'm dreaming big.
Yes!
That's what I'm saying. So thank you. Back to love. So I came up with this concept of back to love many years ago. In fact, it was during the time that Oprah was looking for new talk show hosts.
I remember that.
All over, and I kept thinking about how we have lost the connection with one another. How every time you go out to dinner, your person sitting across from you is scrolling their phone, social media has taken over, and we are missing that connection. And I thought, oh my gosh, what we really need to do is get back to love, right? Because I grew up a child of love, right? I was reared in love, I was born in love. My parents, before my father passed away a year ago, had been married for 62 years.
Wow.
So I grew up with like matching outfits and hearts in the toast, even when they were in their 80s. Right? So my mom made my father breakfast every morning. She put hearts in his toast and had heart ice cubes, right? And I'm like, are you serious? My brother and I would say, who can live up to that? Like, where are we going to find somebody that understands and appreciates that?
Right.
But what I took from that was the importance of being intentional about how you love other people. And so back to love is really about intentionality and reconnecting people back to people.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. And we need more of that.
Yeah, so it's activities, it's matchmaking dinner parties, it's all kind of panels, yeah.
What you on about?
Sign me up.
My text said sign me up.
And you know what? Every time I talk about it, people are like, sign me up, I want to be a part of this.
Yes.
And I have to actually thank you because my entire career over the last, I would say, 15 years, right? I've taken for granted this love thing, right? Because I felt like, this is how I grew up, this is what I know, this is what it is. And every time I came into contact with people, they would say, you need to write a book. Like, no, we don't love like that. What are you talking about? A friend of mine said to me when I was talking to her about my parents' experience, because my father had a stroke. And after we loved him back to himself, he was about 97%, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And from the time that he was diagnosed with a brain tumor until the time he passed, it was just a month. So it went very, very quickly. And my mother, we went like every day up to him, and she held his hand and slept on his bed every day. And when they came home and the hospice came to take care of him, there was a bed in the room and the hospice bed was right next to it. She refused to sleep in the bed. She got his ottoman, armchair, and put it, lazy boy, put it in front of his hospice bed, so when he opened his eyes, he would see her. He didn't have to look for her by turning around. And I was like, oh Lord Jesus, like that's what I come from. And so for the last several years, I've been running from that. Right, because I thought I had taken it for granted. So I went to work for the mayor, and I was the deputy commissioner for the city, and I had a private practice, and I'm doing that. But this love thing, it just kept pulling me. It kept pulling me, and it was like, no, this is what you're supposed to do. And I just light up about it. So I got you, girl. I'm matchmaking, and I'm doing so many things, and I thank you because you are another one of those whispers from God to say, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Come right here and do this thing.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Beautiful. So when we talk about this idea of love, it's important. I'm sorry, relationships. It's important that we understand where that comes from.
So I think it's also important to put in context what we mean when we talk about dream love, right? Because as women, we're socialized to think about dream love in the Prince Charming kind of way, right? I've had so many clients, even, grown women in our 40s, we're like, oh, I'm just waiting and Jesus is going to send me this, all the boxes, right? And men on the other side is the, big booty and a smile. Listen, that's what it is, we grown, right? But it's these social norms about what you have and the physicality of a person. And dream love has nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with what you have, but it's all about who you get to be in that relationship. It's all about the connection and the quality of the emotional strength of the relationship. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about dream love. I'm talking about how you actually love the other person. Right?
With some level of depth.
Oh, with all level of depth. Yes.
That doesn't equate to cars and houses and jobs and finances, which is what I got caught up in with the big house. That's why it didn't last. It fell apart. But I think this is something that we really need to focus on because we are looking for the check boxes. And I heard somebody say, we're looking for the check boxes. When you're on a dating site, you're looking at the picture. And I heard somebody say, you can't find all of what you're looking for in a picture. So we're attracted to the picture. We're drawn by the picture. But everything we really want may not be in that picture, but that's what drives us. So we have to kind of maybe rethink where that, first of all, where that comes from, and rethink how to play that out.
Right. And sort of push ourselves beyond that superficial surface.
There
right?
it is. There it is.
Because it's really important. If it's fine to want to connect with something that pleases your eyes, fine, right? But beyond that, let's think about how does this person talk to me? Right?
Yes.
How do we share our spiritual life together? Is commitment first? How do we share with one another? Like, how are we responsible and accountable to one another? That's what is going to get you to that dream love.
You said a mouthful.
Listen,
I mean,
I'm ready to go.
I mean, but now we're talking about this dream love. We're thinking it's about the other person.
Right.
But it's really all about you and getting down to the brass tacks of what it is that really makes you tick, who you are, what you really need versus what you want.
Right.
And some of those things we want, like they say, it might be good to you, but it ain't
good for you.
Yes, dear.
One of my favorite things to say is, when I get tired of looking at you, what's left?
Right.
Where's that taking us?
Yes.
And how long we going to be doing that? Because we ain't going to be looking like we looking for 10 years.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, you are what you attract, right? So if you got it all confused and messed up, that's what you're going to attract everywhere you go. So it may be a different, name, a different shape, a different size. It's going to be that same stuff, right? And so getting back to what you were talking about just a few minutes ago, in terms of the keys, right? It's consistency, authenticity, intentionality, and consciousness. Those 4 keys will help you get to that dream relationship. So the authenticity.
You want to read them again?
Yes. So I did them backwards, but I'll do them forward. So it's consciousness, intentionality, consistency, and authenticity. So consciousness we hear a lot about these days because, with Black Panther and, everybody's saying you got to be conscious and essentially it's being woke, right? Being aware. And a lot of people talked about this today. Being aware, self-aware, Dr. Clack talked about of your stuff, right? And that connects to being authentic. So authenticity is about really understand not just your values and what you're about, but your triggers, traps, and roadblocks, right? Really getting connected to the things that distract you from getting to where you're going in a relationship. The Marines have this concept called the future picture that they use as a part of strategy for war. And in the war room, I've been to a war room because a friend of mine is a leadership director in the Marines. He's like, Doc, we're going to transfer this leadership concept to psychology. Okay, let's go. But what I took from it is the process, right? It's all about what do I want the outcome to be based on my strategic steps to get there. Beautiful. So you're starting with the end first. So a lot of us have heard that before. And what they do is they create a picture of what this will look like if it's a war, if it's an engagement to retrieve. What is it going to look like on the other side? And so I think about that when I'm thinking about relationships. I always ask, what is your future picture? What is your aim and your goal in this relationship? Because then that determines how you get, what moves you make to get where you want to go, right? And so if my end goal is a deep, meaningful, honest, trusting, growth-inducing relationship connection, I gotta know what my triggers are and what these roadblocks are, because these are the things that come up that distract me. These are the things that are based on our fears, rooted in that younger life that you talked about, that little girl and things that have happened. These are our insecurities. These are our blind spots even. Because you can't address what you don't acknowledge.
Right.
And you can't acknowledge what you don't uncover. So if you don't know it and you walk around in a blind spot, I'm like, listen, I'm that chick, right? Like I'm all good. And then I get in a relationship, right? And I'm freaking out over small stuff, right? And he's like, we like,
it's what I call like coming in at the middle of a movie.
Right.
Like, you got all this drama. Somebody just walks in and you trying to play the drama. They just walked in. They don't even know what's going on. Like, you could not have, you could have possibly, you triggered something.
Right.
But
you didn't even know.
You didn't know it. You didn't create it.
Right.
So it is important to really deal with your stuff.
It's extremely important. But it's hard to do. And so, Angela was talking about earlier, helping people come into awareness. And for me, it's very important to do an environmental scan, right? So you're asking your friends and folks that you're in various relationships, either familiar relationships or love relationships, what is your experience with me
And be prepared for the truth.
Be prepared for the truth.
Right.
Listen, I actually did that one year. All the people that I knew, I think I sent it out to like 200 people. I said, could you tell me what you see as my strengths and what my weaknesses are? And people actually responded, and it was like, wow.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
I was ready for the answer.
Right.
And I was surprised by some of it, but that is when you get to a space where you recognize that you have weaknesses and frailties that you need to work on, and maybe things that you don't know about yourself. You got to ask people, and it may not be, and I'm not talking about the people that you know and trust.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm talking about people that you may have three divisions away from, 3 degrees of relationship away from how they perceive you. How do I look so I can see myself in a different light?
Yes.
And then know that I have to deal with myself before I get into another relationship.
Right. And a really great question is, what is the experience of being loved by me like for you?
Look at Angela.
Wait,
I ain't answering that.
Right. Because we all think we give good love.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
We got it going on.
Yes. I'm the best that ever did it, right? But yet, I'm enacting all of my
All right, John. I'm like, John, you gonna be the best?
Yes. Listen, honey. Listen, I'm walking around like I'm the LaVerne James of this thing. You understand what I'm saying, right? We all do. We think we're the best.
Yes.
But if we haven't uncovered all of our stuff, we are just reenacting it in every relationship, over and over.
So now the uncovering also comes with resolving.
Yes.
Now that I know I'm a BITC, I know that I need to work on it.
I need to do something about that.
Work to do.
I need to do
That is 3 different relationships that said the same thing. It must be something about me that I need to get taken care of before I step into that dream relationship that I'm going to mess up if I don't deal with it. So it does start. The journey of the best love starts with loving yourself enough to tell yourself the truth.
Yes. And that
I didn't call
process,
you a BITCA. I said it was me.
that process moves you from unconscious to consciousness.
Absolutely. And then now we're on a different level altogether because now you're having a conscious
Now you
relationship.
know. Now you know.
It's a conscious relationship. And the reason why I believe that relationships fail is because one person is conscious and the other person is not, and they're not in the same level of consciousness.
Yeah.
So I got on rose-colored glasses and you got on green-colored glasses. And it's okay as long as we know what we got.
Right.
But sometimes we're fooling each other. We try to fool each other because we're not authentic or transparent, and that's not going to get you what you want.
That's not right.
So it starts with you. That's so important. So
Every relationship comes into your life to help you evolve. So
come on.
either you take that opportunity to learn more about yourself and move to the next level, or you stay stagnant and keep repeating the same pattern and wondering why it's the same thing over and over. This ain't the same guy. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Different
it is.
name. Same John, different name.
That's it. That's
So that has to be intentional. So go ahead. I'll let you.
It's so important to be intentional in your relationships and consistent. Intentionality means that I'm thinking about what I'm doing that's going to contribute to me getting to that future picture. So that means that, I have an attitude in the morning. I don't like to talk before 10. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We got a whole lot of stuff. Don't act like I'm the only one. We got a whole lot of drama. And those kinds of behaviors that we enact on other people,
Right.
as though it's okay,
Yeah.
detracts us
Yeah.
from getting to where we're trying to go. Because for every action, there's a reaction. So even if I don't tell you, are you crazy with this? Don't speak to me for 3 days because we just had a little small argument.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to talk to me in the morning or whatever it is. Even though I don't confront it, I'm impacted by it. So that I'm not willing to share my full self with you because this is not safe.
Right.
Yeah.
You've shown me
Yep.
that there are conditions to this thing,
Yeah.
right? So you have to be really clear about what you're bringing, understand who you are, and be intentional about your actions. And it's okay to catch yourself. It's all a process. So you might find yourself enacting some of these things. But growth and evolution comes when you say, oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
all
messed
right.
up.
Yes.
And it's
So I see myself and I'm feeling insecure or I'm feeling scared. I'm a little nervous. I'm not feeling that I can be safe enough to be vulnerable.
Well, say something about in that. Why is it so hard to say I'm sorry?
Oh my goodness. Well, that really comes from how sorry has been indoctrinated into your life. Right? People use sorry to excuse bad behavior, and it makes it okay. Oh, I'm sorry, and keep doing the same thing over and over. Right? And so if your understanding of sorry is meaningless, it doesn't mean nothing. You're not going to adopt that as a way of being in your world. And so having a spiritual, connected, intentional relationship. Not just sorry, but the concept of forgiveness is
That's
very,
where
very
it's
important,
going.
right? And so, whether it's sorry or not, being able to go to that person and say, you know, I made a mistake. This is what happened, and the other person being able to say to you, well, I forgive you, and let's connect there. Or you forgiving that other person, because you know, obviously, we all know that that's for us. That's a building block, right?
Right.
And so, many times. You know, I have friends that call me all the time and talk about their relationships, and I have a couple of friends that just, I ain't saying sorry, I ain't sorry. You know, Beyonce made it bad, sorry, not sorry, and all of that, like pop culture influence and how we behave. I always say, like, what principle are you standing on? All right? Like, where are you going with this?
Right, it's better to be right.
Right.
Always.
Right.
It's always about being right instead of everything being
Right.
right.
And being right instead of being connected. Right?
What's
So
that?
I'm always saying, well, what is your goal? Like, where are you going with this? And that really helps people to stop in their tracks and say, oh. Well, I ain't gonna say sorry today. But it gets you to think, and that's really the point of all of this.
Yes.
To really think about how I am engaging in relationship to other people in my life.
Absolutely.
There was once upon a time, and I see your hand. I was fortunate enough where I was able to stop work for a while, right? Because I was a doer. I was doing everything. Everybody wanted me to be at this and do this and do that. And I was like, I gotta take a little time with myself, but also with my family. Because I wanted people to be able to be concrete when they said, well, how do you know that Marquita loved you? Right? I wanted tangibles because when my mom calls me, even if she calls me 10 times a day, right? I don't want to micromanage her with the television. Okay, Mom, yeah, I hear you, I hear you. She's like, you're not listening to me. Yes, I am, I hear you. But what she was saying was, I need more of you in this moment. And you're making me compete with whatever it is that you feel is more important. So I stopped doing it. I turned the TV off. I would spend specific time with my nieces and nephews, really building into them because I wanted to be intentional about that love. And I wanted to be able to sort of dictate, if you will, create the script for what they would say about the love experience with me, what that was like.
And that's
yes.
an intentional
Yes.
mindset.
Yes.
It's a lifestyle. I want people to, you know, it's almost like, what are people going to say about me when I die?
Yes.
You know, I that's the conversation I
Yes.
have. Like at my funeral, what will people say? Well, if anybody
She was
there?
cool.
Oh my
Right.
You
God.
know, who's going to be present? You know, that kind of thing. We have to think about it that way, but be intentional about how we represent ourselves in relationship. And sometimes we just do it. You know, sometimes, and I'm sure you know, you understand what I'm talking about. Sometimes we get in love. It just takes our mind away, it takes our breath away. We don't even think anymore.
Right.
We do stuff we've never even imagined
Right.
if we weren't under the influence.
All in the name of love.
All in the name of love. So we just drive and we're moving and we don't even realize what's happening. But I think what you're saying is we got to slow down to a level of intentionality.
Yes.
What is this about? What are the outcomes I'm looking for? What is it going to produce? And how can I be my most authentic self so that I can reap what I sow and get that back?
Yes.
And if I'm not getting back, because you talked about, that just being sorry, showing forgiveness, it really is all about me.
Yeah.
What happens if the other person doesn't accept it?
Right.
It's for me.
Because if you start with that mindset that it's about me, the other person doesn't have to accept it.
Exactly.
It's not about them.
It's about you.
Right.
And what I want to say about that, and we'll move to the next point, is that when you love with an intentionality, you prove your leadership and your maturity.